Hello there, I am Dr. Mitch Flood, principal at Knox Doss Middle School, and today I'm going to tell you the story of Knox Doss. First, I want to say how much of an honor and privilege it is to even be considered for Principal of the Year in the great state of Tennessee. As much as I cherish this opportunity, I also know that we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my great staff, the great parents in our community, and ultimately the wonderful students that come and dedicate themselves to becoming better individuals every day in our school. If I were to define the story of Knox Doss in one word, it would be resiliency.
Most anything can be reduced with
2, 3, 5, 7, 11. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11.
The story of resiliency at Knox Doss began 8 years ago when test scores placed us on the state target list. This was a turning point. Our teachers and students had put in the work, but something wasn't connecting. When I became principal the following year, I met a staff eager to prove that Knox Doss is the best school around. To make that happen, we had to bridge the gap between our goals and reality. We knew the key was trust. Trust in each other, in our students, and in our community. I knew early on that the first thing I needed to do was build trust with my staff. There's multiple ways of doing that. We created leadership teams where we allowed every staff member the opportunity to join different groups and have a voice in the things we were doing in our school. We created department heads, we created grade level leads that all took on those leadership roles to make sure that they were doing the things they wanted to do in their classrooms, in their grade levels. But most importantly, what I did was to walk around and stop and chat with teachers during their planning. To take 1 to 2 minutes consistently just to check on them. Say, hey, how are things going? What are you feeling right now? What areas would you like to see improved? What things can I do to support you? And as an administrative staff, we really took that approach of we're here to support you. You're doing the work, it's our job to support you. And over time, that quickly turned to trust, and we began to be able to work together and work towards doing what was best for our students, which is what then quickly the conversation changed to, what about our students in all of this? We had to look in the mirror and say, we did not like what that felt like whenever we worked so hard and then someone came back with a letter, with a grade, and told us that we were failing. And it wasn't from a lack of effort. Our teachers had worked extremely hard, but things just didn't go the way that they thought they would. And so then we had the conversation of, well, how many of our students feel that way? How many of our students work hard every single day only to be told that that hard work wasn't good enough because of a letter grade? And that really rung true, because where we had fallen short was in some of our more diverse learners, some of our students with disabilities, some of our more lower socioeconomic students. And so we kind of had to say, what are we doing to make sure we're reaching all these students who are working hard every day for us and who get frustrated whenever at the end of each week they're seeing a grade that doesn't reflect the hard work. And so then we began to really be able to have meetings and work within our PLCs to say, what are we doing to reach all learners every day? And that became our rallying cry. We started to say, there is more to a successful student than just the test score. So together, we came up with a saying: high expectations plus compassion equals the Mustang way. We knew that having high expectations with no compassion for what our students are going through, what our students need, would not lead us to where we wanted to be. We also knew that having only compassion but not setting high expectations for students would also not lead us to where we needed to be, and neither one of those serve our students in getting them to be the best versions of themselves. So we began to evaluate everything that we do, from our tests to our homework to our daily lessons, and asked ourselves, does this meet high expectations? And then, how are we going to show compassion for those students who may not have the same advantages that other students have? How are we going to show compassion for those students who may learn in a different way than the majority of the students learn? And when those things began to meet, we started to see the growth happening. And we were so proud of what we were seeing. And then that turned into, just a few short years later, last year, Knox Doss being named a reward school. Again, we were so proud of that moment, so proud of that data, but we still knew that that was just a final grade that doesn't measure all the hard work that everyone put in. And so while we celebrated, we were also more excited just to get back to doing the work, which is evaluating everything we do, checking our expectations, checking our compassion, and making sure that the Mustang way is the way that treats our students fairly and gets them to be the best versions of themselves. And that is the story of Knox Middle School.